Hello, good afternoon, everybody. It is 3 o'clock. We're going to give everybody just another minute to hop on. We'll start very shortly. Okay, hello, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. The much anticipated market research panel webinar. We're very excited to have you today. We're even more excited to have our presenters, Shawn Hoover, Jess Marks, as well as our Procurement IQ team you're going to hear from in just a little bit. I am Kevin Miner. I'm the Media Production Project Manager here at NASPO, and I am the Relationship Manager for our market research tools. We're really excited to have you guys here today, and I won't take up too much time, but I just really want to give a brief introduction to make sure that everybody is familiar with Zoom as well as familiar with Procurement IQ. So during the webinar, we really encourage you guys to participate. We want you to ask questions. There is a Q&A function. At the bottom of your screen, you see a Q&A box. Please utilize that throughout the presentation. This is going to allow us to be able to answer your questions in real time. There's also a raising hand function. Right now, currently you are muted. However, if you have a question and you'd like to voice it to us, raise your hand or put in the chat box that you'd like to speak. We'll make sure that you get unmuted and you can talk directly to our panelists. There is also the chat function. That's more for asking questions. If you have a technical difficulty, please let us be aware of that. We'll make sure that we help you get that fixed. We also have a survey that will be popping up automatically right after you're done with this webinar, okay? You don't have to go find it. You have to click on a link. It's going to pop up immediately for you. This is a 6-question survey. It's really going to help us improve in webinars in the future. We're gearing up to have more webinars like this. So we just really want to be able to improve content, hear back from you guys. We need your feedback. Please take 5 seconds and answer these questions for us, okay? It's really important that you do that. Also, quickly, just a quick overview of Procurement IQ. This webinar doesn't center necessarily, it's not central to Procurement IQ today. It's kind of peripheral. Really what we want here is just to hear from other states about how they use market research tools to help them in their sourcing events. But we at NASPO do offer our membership an access to Procurement IQ. It's a great tool and it provides market intelligent resource that aids in your sourcing events, doing things such as it provides over 1,000+ reports that cover price benchmarks, market trends, vendor statistics, forecasting, negotiation questions, things of that nature. And you can see right here that our NASPO membership has access to 3 wonderful customer support people. You're going to be hearing from some of them today. You have Kalia Dre, Diane Yu, and Ashley Cruz, and all three of them are here to help you. Myself, Kevin Miner, I'm here to help you as well. So, without further ado, I think I've taken up enough of everybody's time. Jess, if you wouldn't mind to share your screen. I have the pleasure of introducing Jess Marks. Jess, are you there?
I'm here. Good afternoon, everyone from the great state of Florida.
Jess, will you share your screen?
Yes, I will.
While she's doing that, we have prepared a great introduction for her, and I hate to let it go to waste. Are you able to share your screen, Jess?
I think so. Let me see here.
There it is. Sorry, folks, a little technical difficulty. Jess, if you'll go ahead and switch your screens, you're in presenter mode.
Sorry about that.
That's okay. Sorry, folks, we all understand technical difficulties. While she's doing that, though, I do want to give her a solid introduction. Jess Marks joined the Department of Management Services for the great state of Florida in 2014. Her current role is Bureau Chief of Goods and Service with the Division of State Purchasing. Jess is a certified contract manager, contract negotiator, and Lean Six Sigma certified green belt. She has conducted numerous market research trainings and is excited to share her knowledge on this topic. When she is not negotiating the best deal and learning all there is to know about market research, you can find her at the beach with her husband Kyle, spending time with their 2 children and their fur babies. How'd I do, Jess?
You did great, Kevin. How am I doing on the presenter view?
I can see it. I think we're ready to go, folks.
Awesome. Well, good afternoon, everyone. I am Jessie Marks. I'm the Bureau Chief of Goods and Services with the Division of State Purchasing here in Florida. I'm super excited to speak with you all today about our market analysis and procurement strategy process, also known as our MAPS process. Florida was recently a Silver Cronin Award, so I had to throw out the shameless plug that we're super stoked about this process and we're excited to share it with you today. So what is the MAPS? The MAPS, in a nutshell, is a research paper that our staff collects data and they focus on high-level points to make informed decisions. So the process provides clear-cut, data-driven options for staff and leadership when making decisions. It paints the picture. Where have we been? Where are we going? We're going to talk about those high-level points in today's training. I'm sure you've all been, stuck with the question, well, gosh, what did we do in the past, or why did we make that decision? This process really cuts down on losing the institutional knowledge that lives in our workforce. It also puts us in a better position to make informed decisions. It increases and encourages strategic sourcing, and it increases the knowledge and understanding of the market, what's going on with the economy and the industry, and it also sets us up for a more defensible position legally for the selection of method of procurement. So that may be if we decide to issue a brand new procurement, if we want to renew an existing contract, if we want to allow a contract to expire, if we want to resolicit products or services. So it helps us make all of those really important decisions. In the MAPS process, and I'm going to show you an example today, it covers trends and conditions. So we look at, when we collect data, we look at Procurement IQ. I'll provide a short demo. Industry trends. We look at prior contract spend within the state. So who are the main players in the marketplace? what customers, what state agencies are buying this good or service. We look for that really critical agency usage and feedback. Do they feel like the current contract's going well? Are there things that we can improve with the re-procurement? We look at vendor sales reports. So what are we buying and who's buying it? We also use GovWin. So the pricing analysis. This is a critical portion in our maps, and we look at similar states of size and scope to that of Florida. So we want to know, what is New York, California, and Texas doing? What are our geographical neighbors, such as Georgia, South Carolina, Alabama? What are they doing? We look at national co-ops. Florida has a limited authority, so we can only use GSA Schedule 70 and 84, which is IT and law enforcement on the federal level, but we certainly look at those. And we also look at other contract options. So I'm going to go ahead and provide an example of a recent maps we did for translation services. Kevin, can you see that?
Yep, sure can.
Okay, super. So this is a completed example of our market analysis and procurement strategy. Again, it looks much like a briefing document in a research paper. It's typically 5 to 6 pages typed by the time we get done with this research process. So the very first thing that we do in the maps is we provide a brief recommendation. So what are we wanting to do, and what are we trying to recommend to our leadership? So here we wanted to adopt the NASPO value point contract for the remote interpreting and document translation services that was procured through the lead state of New Mexico. In the background, we paint the picture. So where has the state of Florida been? We used to use the NASPO contract just for over the phone interpretation, and then we went to a Texas contract, and then we found that the customer need in Florida was much greater, and they needed over-the-phone, video remote, and document translation services. So we patiently waited on NASPO to procure, and once we saw the contract, looked at the pricing, it was very advantageous for the state of Florida, and it was an easy recommendation to adopt this national contract. So we also paint the picture with the industry. So what's going on with the industry? We use Procurement IQ, and after this example, I'll do a quick demo of how Florida uses a lot of great functions and tools in Procurement IQ. So with the industry, we document what's the need, what's going on in the marketplace. We look at economic growth, or decline. We use producer price indexes and consumer price indexes with the Bureau of Labor Statistics. We want to see who are the major players in the marketplace. Is this just a regional? Is this a statewide good or service that's needed for our customers? So in this specific example, we noted that the immigration rate has
Jess, sorry to interrupt. I don't know if it's just me, but I'm seeing the Procurement IQ landing page. Are we meant to be looking at that or the document?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. It's all right, we're not too far through, but maybe you think we need to just swap that out. Awesome.
Yeah, just sorry about that. I was mic'd and or muted. I was trying to say things and I was muted. So yeah, okay. I think now we see the page. Sorry about that, folks.
Super. Sorry about that, guys. So like we said, we start with the recommendation, and then we talk about the background, and now we're here to the industry. So in the industry and with our research with Procurement IQ, we found that the immigration rate plays a large need in our country for needing to have translation services of many different languages. So we went ahead and documented that on our maps. Then our newest section of the maps is the customer experience. So we look at our contract log. If we have an existing contract, we'll work with our Bureau of Contract Management and say, hey, have there been any customer complaints about timeliness of delivery or performance deficiencies? How are our financial consequences going? Do we need to beef those up in the next procurement? So we document our customer experience. We may do that by way of getting with the Bureau of Contract Management. We issue customer surveys, and we also have focus groups for our large spending agencies where we can have a more intimate setting to talk to them and see what are their needs, their procurement needs. And then we go into customer information. So we want to know who is buying this good or service. So here we've clearly identified our top state agencies that are purchasing translation services. So we have Department of Health and Children and Families are by far our largest customer need here. And then we look at eligible users. So here in the state of Florida, eligible users are considered to be cities, counties, school districts, universities, et cetera. And we also want to provide contract options for them, so we do look at that as well in our MAPS process. And then we get into the critical piece of the pricing. So we want to look at those similar states of size and scope. If we had a current contract in place, are we getting a better rate by reprocuring possibly, or is it a guarantee that pricing is going to go up? So we look at all those factors. So previously we had the state of Florida contract with NASPO that was just over the phone. So we went ahead and documented over the phone, video remote, and document translation. Then we looked and compared at the new NASPO contract and saw that it was very cost competitive. We also have this cool column called notations. So it will just say how long is the contract period. I know that's really important for procurement professionals. We don't want to issue a procurement just for a year or adopt or piggyback a contract that's only got a one-year option, and it may not, leave a ton of continuity of service for our customers. We also state any nuances. So for this specific one, for translation, there were 7 vendors awarded the NASPO translation, but not all 7 provided all 3 service categories. So we just wanted to call that information out in our decision-making process. And then we look at the state of Texas. They were very cost competitive. We talk about their contract term. The same goes for California and New York. And then we also look at other co-ops. So we looked at Omnia in this case and documented their pricing as well. Here in Florida, we have something where we need to look at respect and pride, and those are folks with disabilities in the prison industry, and we do encourage purchasing through them, so that's why you'll see that they were on our maps for this one. And then we look at our risk assessment. So in our risk, we want to see, have there been any legislative changes or anything in the economy that would impact our documenting information in the maps. In this place, we realized and documented through the collection of data that a lot of state agencies in Florida were doing their own thing, and they may not have gotten really leveraged buying power if we had this umbrella contract here in state purchasing for Florida. So we documented that it would reduce the amount of repetitive sourcing efforts amongst state agencies. And then, of course, we end with our recommendation. So our recommendation was to adopt the NASPO National Contract for Translation Services, and it provides our customers with competitive pricing and a wide variety of services that they needed. So we're super excited to roll that out to our customers here in the near future. So with that, we're going to punch out to Procurement IQ. I'm going to show you how the state of Florida uses this awesome tool and how we collect data. So I'm going to go ahead and switch to something else we're buying to provide you guys a variety of examples for today. So let's say we wanted to look at disposable paper, which is paper towels and toilet paper. It's important that you kind of less is more when you're searching on Procurement IQ. So you may not find something for disposable paper, but you may find 2 different reports, one for paper towels and one for toilet paper. Alrighty, so we just found a report for paper towels, and I'm going to walk you through some of the functions that Florida uses. So Florida loves this report overview tab. If you click on at a glance, it provides you a snapshot of market characteristics, forecasted price, so is it expected to go up or down in the next few years. It talks about key price drivers, so the price of wood, trees. So, you know, if that's going to go up, then our paper towel or toilet paper costs are probably going to go up as well. So we love that we can drag and drop these really cool charts into our maps and kind of make it fancy. The executive summary is great. It just really summarizes that report. And it talks about, again, price trends, market structure and risk, price driver volatility, supply chain risk. So that's one area that we use Procurement IQ. We also use the Evaluate the Supply Market tab. This is a really cool one. The pricing summary, we go here a lot to make sure that what our understanding of the market, it's also Procurement IQs and that we're on the same page. So pricing benchmark, it talks about, you know, the average cost of paper towels and then at the square footage. It talks about what's the thickness of paper towels, so 1, 2-ply, and again, just price drivers, give you additional information about wages and the number of businesses and population. You know, there's a lot of folks that are in the U.S., and so the cost of cleaning and supplies for cleaning is going to go up. So we love to connect the dots in our industry information in the maps. And then something really cool, and this is only available with the procurement subscription, is the RFP and the Negotiate tab. So a lot of us are not just looking to award a procurement based on price alone. We may want to award based on technical components and or negotiation tactics. And so these are really cool tabs where it talks about creating an RFP, so your technical criteria. And it'll actually give you stuff about what should your technical criteria be and maybe what is suggested weights for those. So in this instance, it talks about specs, delivery, and customer service, and then price. We love this tab. We use it a lot. And then also the Negotiate tab. So this is really cool. I use this for a very large IT procurement I recently did. This is negotiation questions to actually ask the vendors when you're negotiating and at the table with them. This was really cool. So stuff like competition, product offerings and variety, equivalent, related goods, and the supply chain, just really cool information that we can get from Procurement IQ. And then lastly, Florida uses the PDF function. So if you go up here to the left, there's this red icon about PDF. It's going to PDF the entire report for you, and that way you can save it on your desktop and have easy access. You're not stumbling around for your Procurement IQ username and password. We love that it gives who the report analyst is for Procurement IQ and the date, so we know how recent is this report. So of course you can always contact this person or that analyst if you have additional questions about the information listed in the Procurement IQ report. All right. And so going back, let's see here. Can you guys see my PowerPoint?
We sure
Yep.
can.
All right. So just wrapping up for Florida's presentation today, the benefits of the MAPS process, it provides historical records. So 2 or 3 years down the road, when our Chief Procurement Officer says, Jesse, why in the world did you make this decision? I've got a report that can tell me, a document that can tell me why did I do that, who are our top spenders, agencies, what vendors are we buying the most of, what did the economy and the market look like back then. It's just a solid document to always go back to. It produces data-driven decisions. So on our second floor with our executive leadership, we're painting the whole picture for them so that they can make informed decisions. And it sets Florida up in an excellent legal defensible position for our procurements. And then with the process, you know, again, we just look at a complex market and we want to incorporate customer feedback into our maps. And we look at that pricing analysis. Just because we go out for a competitive procurement doesn't mean we're always going to get the best deal. So it helps us really understand our price drivers, our risk assessments, and then ultimately helps us make a fantastic recommendation. All right, I'm going to stop sharing, and for any participants today, we have a Word version of the maps if you would like a copy for your state or organization. Thank you, guys.
That was excellent. Thank you so much. And yeah, we will have a recording of this entire presentation, as well as the slide deck from today. So of course you can email myself. I can get you in touch with Jess, or I can send you any material that you need. So hey, while Shawn is getting set up to share his screen, I know that I have some questions for you, Jess, and I know that our team at Procurement IQ has some questions for you, but I think we have a couple from the audience as well. So if you wouldn't mind, want to take a couple of those questions, Jess?
Yeah, that'd be super.
Awesome. So Andy Dorn asked, who does the recommendation from MAPS form go to, and who makes the final call on it? And Jess, you can see all these questions too in your question box. So
yes,
feel free to address them.
That function. Yeah, that's an excellent question. So it goes, it routes around. So it starts at our associate category manager, like our analyst level. It goes to their direct supervisor. And then it goes to one of the 2 procurement bureau chiefs, myself or Carla McBride in IT and special projects. And then it goes on to our Office of Special Counsel, who looks at it for legal review. And it goes then to our deputy director and our director, Miss Rosalind Ingram, our Chief Procurement Officer. She has been delegated to approve maps that are $500,000 or less. Our executive leadership is very hands-on, so anything over $500K, they like to be formally briefed, and they ultimately make the final decision.
Excellent. And again, if you guys would like more information, feel free to get a hold of me. Greg Oliveira has some interesting questions. How do you capture the county and city contract spend?
Hey there, Greg. So we have a vendor quarterly sales report. So on a quarterly basis, the vendors are required to tell us who are they selling to and what are they selling. So we gather that information from them. It's really important we get that info from the vendors or the contractors on a quarterly basis, because in Florida's procurement system, My Florida Marketplace, state agencies are only required to use that system. It's also known as MFMP. So it's really important that we continue to have visibility into the eligible user spend by way of the vendor quarterly sales reports.
Awesome. Excellent. Does anybody from our Procurement IQ team have any questions for Jess?
Yeah, actually, this is Ashley Cruz. I'm the Senior Product Specialist. Jess, I love the way that you went through the kind of customer experience and the types of questions that you would be getting from those customers for the translation services contract. My question is, just in that process of collecting the usage and feedback from the agency, do you guys use any kind of KPIs or scorecarding or any other method to objectively measure the vendor's performance? Or does it sometimes come down to sort of a, yes, they did meet their obligations versus no, they didn't meet their obligations?
That is an excellent question. So in our My Florida Marketplace, our online procurement system, we have what's called VPT, Vendor Performance Tracking. So our state agencies that are using them and issuing purchase orders to the vendors, they can actually go in and rate the vendor experience. We do collect data for the maps from that. We also have state agency surveys, so it's not a one-size-fits-all. So if we've heard rumblings from contract management, we may ask specific questions to draw out that feedback from our state agencies. We also have focus groups that I touched on where we get those top spending customers and agencies into a conference room, a more intimate setting where they can open up and say, hey, you know, this product quality for uniforms, maybe we want to improve this next time, or, you know, we haven't had a, not that this would ever happen in the great state of Florida, but if we had, you know, something like we needed more security guard services options, so we have those focus groups. We also have something that Roz, our Chief Procurement Officer, implemented, which are agency site visits. So we go to their home turf and we actually travel to them and we have a meeting and say, hey, tell us what's working here in state purchasing and what's not. And we love to hear their feedback. And finally, we have our bi-monthly purchasing director meetings. Our customers are not shy. I'm sure the same goes for you all states. So we get a lot of great feedback from them that we put in the maps as well.
Excellent. Thank you so much. And just a quick follow-up, I would assume that the level of feedback that you are collecting might differ a little bit based on the type of good. So you might need to collect more for something like the translation services versus paper towels.
Absolutely. Yeah, it varies on what we're buying, and it varies on who we're getting it from as well.
Got it. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. And then I think Greg had a second part about who in your organization conducts each aspect of the MAPS analysis. So that's all going to be done in-house in state purchasing by our procurement professionals.
Excellent. Jess, thank you so much. That was, I know that we could do this for a whole nother hour. And guys, we really pumped to see all these questions coming in. Keep the questions coming. For time reasons, we're gonna move to Shawn Hoover from Louisiana. He is gonna talk about how the great state of Louisiana also does their market research. I have a bit of an introduction for him too. If you want to keep these questions coming for Jess throughout, please use the Q&A box, and we are going to talk more about these and address some more of your questions at the end. Shawn joined the Division of Administration in Louisiana in 2016. His current title is State Procurement Supervisor with the Office of State Procurement. He's excited to help teach others on market research and how it is conducted in Louisiana. Fun quick fact prior to beginning his career in procurement, his high school job was dressing up as a clown while he was working at Shoe Carnival. So, and that, which is a super funny fact, but we're all taking you very seriously now, Shawn. So go ahead.
All right, thank you, Kevin. Good afternoon. So I'm first going to touch, as Jesse did a great job showing y'all how to use Procurement IQ and how they use it in the state of Florida. The state of Louisiana uses similar features such as the forecast price, the recent price, when they're conducting our market trend over here in Louisiana. So first off, we use several tools, just to list a few. We use Procurement IQ, CPI, PPI, when reporting and Google searches when we're trying to determine the market trend and if we're going to ask for a discount or not. This is part of our standard operating procedure when seeking renewals or extensions of contracts, whether it be 36-month blanket orders or just extension of other blanket orders or contracts. We also determine if it's going to be cost effective to renew that contract or seek a discount based off of what those tools show that we use. Sometimes we do get where CPI and PPI will show an increase, but Procurement IQ will show a decrease or vice versa. And what we do is we will go and use that as leverage still with the vendors to try and get a discount based off of that market trend, because one of them is showing that the decrease in services. That helps us create, new contracts. If it looks like the renewal is not going to be favorable, then we will put this back out on bid and see if we can get a better price on the open market. But most of the time, it seems to be favorable. So either CPI, PPI, or Procurement IQ, where we will go ahead and renew the contract or extend the contract based off of the market trend. This is just an example of something we use for our file documentation showing. So this is for a blanket order for a first renewal we were seeking for janitorial services, which I have a little more information on janitorial services. You'll see further in the PowerPoint. This is just a snippet of a form we use. As you see, PPI reflected a 0.2% decrease in janitorial services, and Procurement IQ reflects a 1% 3-year decrease in the cost for janitorial services. So this is just a little snippet of what we use in the state of Louisiana when determining if we should renew a contract or extend a contract. These are just some factors and variables that we use. Also, another factor or variable we also use is to make sure that the vendor performance, such as delivery, was satisfactory with the agencies that we are purchasing for. So before we began using Procurement IQ, it seemed like with just PPI, CPI, we noticed that we were spending about an average of $18,000 yearly per contract for janitorial services. So once we adopted Procurement IQ to help us along with PPI, CPI to analyze the market trends, we noticed that we were saving just for this commodity about 6.72% per contract. This was based off, I just did a sample size of several files for blanket or 36-month contracts for between the fiscal years of 18 to 20. So this is just just showing that, using Procurement IQ with PPI, CPI, and Google, being able to use the market trends of prices and increases, decreases to leverage a better deal to save, the bottom line, just like as you see with the 6.72%. So with the competitive pricing, we noticed that when we were asking the vendors in janitorial services for discounts, they understood that there was a lot of competition and that we could get better pricing if maybe we did put this out for bid. Or they knew that using this leverage, that we were asking for a discount, that this could possibly go out for bid, they could lose the contract. They were more willing to give us a discount now, having two tools to help us gauge how the market trend is in janitorial services than in the past when we were just using just one market trend analysis tool. And then prior to Procurement IQ, like I said, we didn't really get a lot of discounts. Just like I said, this is for just janitorial services commodity. So we really didn't have that leverage to get the discounts because, we only had one tool telling us or one option telling us that increase or decrease, and we really didn't have a lot. Now we do now, and previously we do ask for discounts regardless if it's an increase or decrease, just to, you never know if the vendor's going to come back because they know there's so much competition out there now that they will come back and give us a discount, which we've noticed that we've saved a lot more money asking every time. And it just helps us with the market trend analysis tools, such as Procurement IQ, to forecast what the commodity of that time is going to do, because we can use that in our email to the vendor, or when we reach out to the vendor. So our rules and regulation actually state the services must be checked for favorable current market conditions, trends, and cost factors that are advantageous to the state. So this is part of process improvement, adding another market trend analysis tool such as Procurement IQ. We also, like I said, we use Google to see what the current trends are, and what current market trends are, as well as how is that commodity acting on the market, and are they favorable to renew. So this is actually a graph that I show. I discussed about, we save 6.72%, and these are actual savings that I put together. So this is the Office of Motor Vehicle in 3 locations. This is over 36-month contracts being renewed every year from 2018, 2019, and 2020. And as you can see, the discount we were asking every year, because it was showing, Procurement IQ was actually showing a decrease every year. So we were asking for this discount, and they were giving us these discounts, and it affected our bottom line because we were able, just in this commodity alone, to save the 6.72%. And therefore that helped the bottom line for janitorial services. And like I said, this is just one commodity. We have several commodities that we have been getting a lot more discounts on, because we're able to gauge the market and be able to know that, that in the previous next few years, we may be able to see a decrease further, so we can use that as, a leverage. So with the recommendation, we find that, when you're renewing contracts or extending contracts, or we're looking for current or future market trends to save money, that, Procurement IQ, CPI, PPI, GovWin, and Google, they all are essential in making sure we're saving the taxpayers' money by getting the best savings for the state. Like I said, we use several tools, and it just helps us find the most accurate data. We use both recent price and forecast price in Procurement IQ when determining if we should renew or not.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Thanks so much, Shawn. That was really informative. Do we have any questions? I don't see any particular to Shawn in our question box. Does anybody from our Procurement IQ team have any questions for Shawn?
Yes, I actually have another question. This is Ashley again from the Procurement IQ team.
Okay.
Hi, Shawn. So I noticed that you pointed out that 3-year compound annual growth rate, the 3-year CAGRs, which is what we use frequently throughout the Procurement IQ reports. I'm curious to know what kind of data points and factors you might take into consideration if you're deciding to do something other than a 36-month contract like the janitorial services one. So I don't know if that would be 12 or 24-month contract instead, or even potentially a longer term. Are there other factors that you're considering and looking at with those price trends?
Yeah, I mean, so some of the factors we do consider is, like I said, because we use other tools to gauge to see what the market trends are looking like, such as CPI and PPI. Actually use that as well as a factor in this, since you can use, previous data with CPI, PPI, however many years you want to go back, you can go back to. So you can use that as well. But like I said, we use vendor performance as well, such as delivery, to see if, they're going to, did they have any complaints from the agency that the delivery wasn't met, or did they have issues with that vendor where, that's at other points to figure out if we're going to do a longer or shorter contract extension. That plays a role in deciding if we're going to extend it or renew it, other than just market trend analysis tools. So.
Great, thank you so much. Any questions from the other panelists?
Yeah, hey, if I can get my mic unmuted. Yeah, Shawn, we actually have a question. I think this is just for anyone really, in the question and answer box from an anonymous attendee. This, of course, we offer our NASPO membership free access to the Procurement IQ tool specifically, but maybe some of our procurement subject matter experts have recommendations on market analysis intelligence for those that may not have access to Procurement IQ. So are there any other outlets or resources that you guys use?
Yeah, I can certainly speak to the publicly available resources that the Procurement IQ analysts are using on a regular basis to put this kind of data and research together. So typically Procurement IQ is using a variety of publicly and semi-publicly available sources. So some of those would be, behind a paywall, trade associations or industry associations that you folks might not have access to as well. However, the Bureau of Labor Statistics and the Bureau of Economic Analysis are two of probably the largest resources that we use, as well as census data, which is broken down by state through the Survey of U.S. Businesses, or Statistics of U.S. Businesses, I believe is the name of the survey. So those are all really helpful, especially when looking at data from a state level perspective. One other thing that I'll note is for those that do have access to Procurement IQ, the very first landing page, which has a definition that kind of covers off on what's in the report, is followed up pretty quickly by our additional resources. And those are always going to be publicly available trade associations or publications that you can access to dig deeper into a specific industry or market. It's actually where the majority of market-specific information comes from in every single one of our reports. So our analysts list those there in case you do need to do a bit of additional digging beyond what you see in the reports.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, I think all those are good points. We do offer this to NASPO members, but there are all those other great resources and great avenues that you can also access. We just provide this to our membership and in kind of in that really neat, tidy PDF that Jess was showing you earlier. It's very helpful. I've used it a number of times myself. Jess, it looks like we have a couple more questions for you. How long does it typically take to complete a MAPS form?
So the MAPS process is truly a labor of love. There is a lot of information that goes into it. It's very detailed, as you guys saw. So I'd say for newer employees, it's probably going to take more like 2 months or so versus, a veteran, they may get it done in about a month or so. But that's just really to collect all the data and put it in the appropriate format, to talk to, contract management or customer, state agencies. So all of those processes are facilitated and then documented onto the maps, and then it probably takes another 2 weeks or so to route for approval.
Thank you. Thank you very much for that, Jess. We have one from Jared in Texas. Are the vendor quarterly sales submitted by spreadsheet, or do you have a platform to accept the data loads?
That's an excellent question. We would love a platform. Florida isn't there yet, so we still use the Excel spreadsheet. It's posted on our website. I'll be glad to send a link to Kevin, and he can send it to all today's participants, so you can see what that example looks like.
Yes, and please, again, my contact info is right there at the bottom of the screen. Thank you very much, Jared. So another one we have from Ian: does MAPS incorporate and track any sustainability or environmentally preferable criteria?
So that's an interesting question, and that is something we do and document on our maps if it's in the realm of green purchasing products. So in Florida, we, when we can, we use recycled content and paper. We also maintain a climate-friendly products list on the state purchasing website, and we can and sometimes do document green products and climate-friendly products into our maps. So a good example of that would be like office supplies, so certain types of like, you know, not so harsh cleaners or recycled content paper towels. We may document that in the map.
Awesome.
And
excellent.
Kevin, I think there was another question. Let's see here. I thought there was one. I'm looking back at the answered ones just to make sure.
Oh, sure.
Oh, yeah, there was a question from Gerard about is the data collected on a line item or purchase order contract level? So again, great question. The quarterly sales is designed to give line item detail, and you'll see a box for description. Again, this is vendor information, so sometimes we get a lot of information or sometimes we don't get enough. The state of Florida, in our contracts, we have what's called an ad hoc report request. So we could go to any of our current contractors and say, hey, we need this specialized report to see what we're buying, who we're buying it from, what's the frequency, so how many times has it been searched for and actually purchased in the state of Florida, what are the top dollar amount, meaning like is that a line item that's just a lot of money, so what's the top dollar amount products as well.
Awesome. And you know, I had a question actually for both of our panelists today. So Jess and Shawn, I know that you guys had a chance to talk to each other prior to this presentation. And you know, that's something that we at NASPO, we really encourage, is just the conversation between different states on best practices and standard operating procedures. So I'm really interested to learn, what did you guys learn from each other during this experience, this panel? Is there a takeaway that maybe you had from Shawn? Shawn, is there a takeaway that you had from Jess?
I definitely loved Shawn's presentation. We did have multiple sessions to gear up for today's call, and just him walking me through that renewal form and the producer price index, I learned and kind of affirmed that our state was doing the right thing and that we were doing something very similar to Shawn's state in Louisiana. And that's really important to know what the producer price index is doing, because that way you can see if the vendors don't want to give you a price decrease, you know why, versus if they're trying to get a price increase. And it also helped me understand that, okay, that producer price index may only say that it went up 2%, but, you know, as Shawn stated, if they're trying to get like a 3% increase, well, that's a no-go, and we can say no, and we know that because we understand the market better.
Yeah, and I mean, as Jessie also stated, something I kind of took away from her when we talked to each other was just the how Florida uses maps, and it was a fairly new process for me, of course. So her whole presentation was very eye-opening as far as how Florida with maps and market trends. So I learned a lot from Jesse's presentation as well.
Awesome. Great. Did we have any other questions from our Procurement IQ folks? Give you guys one more chance.
No, nothing right now. I think that we definitely appreciate the time that both Jess and Shawn were able to put into these really wonderful presentations. It's always helpful for us to see how you guys are going through any kind of category strategy process, and especially how that might differ, you know, from state to state within the NASPO organization. So we definitely want to thank you guys for all of your time and the wonderful questions coming through from all of the attendees as well.
Yes, and I would like to take a second to also thank Jess and Shawn both for all their effort that they put in to this presentation today. And I would also really like to thank Ashley, you and everybody on the Procurement IQ team. You guys are always very great and very responsive. And I'd like to thank everybody for joining us today. We're coming up to the end of the presentation. We thank you for joining. This is our first attempt at a panel style webinar for market research. If you'd like to see more of these, please let us know. If we did a good job, please let us know. If we didn't do very good, let us know that too, because that way we can improve. There'll be a survey, like I mentioned at the beginning. There's a survey at the beginning of, or at the end of this presentation. The window's going to pop right up. Please take that. That's another device that we use to improve the way that we do these educational live trainings. Also, if you'd like, please contact me at the end of this at my email, which is right down there, kminer@naspo.org, for one UPPCC contact hour. I'm already getting emails from a lot of you guys. And if you have any questions, want me to provide this supplementary information through the slide deck or through this actual recorded webinar, you can email me and I'll get you set up with those links too. So if we don't have any other questions, comments, concerns, I'd again like to thank everybody so much for joining us today. I really appreciate you. Look for more of these to come in the future. And with that, we'll sign off. Jess, Shawn, thank you guys so much for being a part of this today. We really appreciated it. And thanks everyone for joining us.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Bye.